just tell me about meeting Jane?
So Tom was divorced at the time that I began working for him, and he had just recently married Barbara Williams, who was a movie star at the time and did a lot of work in Canada. But Jane was certainly in the picture. They were good friends. They had a child together, Troy, who was just as nicest guy you ever met. I went to Cuba with Troy and Barbara and Tom. We didn't have, Tom had lost his wallet on the way to Cuba, and we got there and he didn't have any money, and you could only use cash in Cuba. You cannot use credit cards. So it was Sandy's money that we were going to share between four of us. Tom and Barbara and Troy and me. And CNN had an office in Havana, and Troy called Jane and she sent us $2,000. But when Troy he got the check from CNN, but when he got to the bank, there was a line around the corner, and he said, around the block, he said, I'm not waiting in that line. So we had to wait until Monday, which was probably 2 days from when that happened, to get $10,000, which Jerry tied around somebody in LA who was traveling to Havana, and we got it when she landed, and that was the first cash we had. So it was fun. But Troy, Jane's son with Tom, is just a terrific kid, and we just had a great time together. And Jane, has remained good friends with Tom for many years, and she was at his memorial, and she gave a birthday party at his house for him when he must have been 60 then. Maybe he was 70. No, he had to have been 60. Maybe 50. I don't even remember. But we went up there, and she had done this cute act, singing and whatever, with Barbara, and they filmed it, but they missed doing something, so they had to do it again. So not only did I see it once, I had to see it happen twice. But they're just people when you know them through work. It's not through the entertainment world, but through work. And she does a lot of good things, and was very close with her daughter, Vanessa Vadim, who lived in Atlanta. And Vanessa would come. We saw Vanessa at the convention. So they were in and out of, the life of Tom, and as a result, the life of ours as well.
You were a bit of a celebrity in that circle.
I was, no, but Tom really had great respect for me. I think because I wasn't just someone that was hired. I really did what he wanted me to do. I knew the city. I knew the history of some of the people that he was going to have to work with. I knew the craziness of the politics of downtown Los Angeles, and that's where he was really focused on.
Wonderful. Okay, we're going to switch gears. Tell me about being a grandma and some of the joys that go hand in hand.
I became a grandmother when I was 55 because my son Douglas married very young. He was in medical school when he got married. None of my friends had children who were married. And he had a baby when he was still in medical school. So I didn't like the idea of being called grandma. As you can imagine, I wasn't ready to be called grandma. I said, she's going to have to call me Mrs. Brown. But of course, that didn't happen. And my granddaughter Elisa was born in Cincinnati, Ohio, because that's where my son went to medical school. And we, spent a lot of time together. And then they had another son, Danny. He was not born in Cincinnati. They went on he did his residency at Stanford and wanted to stay at Stanford, as everybody does, but there were no job openings for anesthesiologists anywhere, and ended up in, of all places, Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I couldn't imagine that anybody I knew would end up in Albuquerque, New Mexico. But he did, and he's had a very successful practice there, and we enjoy visiting him. It's not a place I would want to live, but nevertheless, that's where he ended up. And we see a lot of him as well. It's not very far away, and he was just here 2 weeks ago. So he has 2 children. And then Derek got married, and Derek has 3 children. And then Dana got married, and she has 2. And then Douglas remarried and got 2 more kids. So there's 9 grandchildren now in all ages, down to junior high school. 2 are going in. We have graduations every June. There's 1 or 2 or 3 graduating at some level, either to nursery school to kindergarten, kindergarten to 1st grade, 6th grade to 7th grade. You know, there's always graduations at this time of year. So this year we have 3.
What kind of joy do you get from your family?
You know, the kids loved being with us when they were young. We would go swimming with them, go to the beach with them, go to go to Disneyland with them. Always did the sugary things with them, which they loved. And we've always had a terrific relationship with the kids. And now a lot of them are out of college. Some of them are out of college. And we see them, and they love to be with us and spend time with us. It's a different kind of time but there's no little babies anymore. So nobody's interested in swimming anymore. Now things are bigger and better. You know, they want to go to concerts, they want to go shopping, they want to go traveling. So that's kind of where things are.
Any family trips, like big ones?
You know, when you have so many kids, grandkids and kids, and they're different ages, the vacations are very different. The work schedules are very different. So we try when we can to do as much as we can together. Most of us we went to Hawaii when we didn't have as many grandchildren, but with all the kids, and if there were grandchildren, they went too. We went to Mexico, to Puerto Vallarta with the same group. We went to San Diego. Whoever could join us at the time, it was always a different group. We did a little cruise to Ensenada on a boat over Christmas break, again with those that could make it. And we just came back from a cruise with all of Douglas's family, because they could all get away, even from England and Denver and Washington and Albuquerque. We all were able to go and meet in Florida and take a cruise through the Caribbean just for a week, just so we could all be together.
It's very important. Do me one favor, go through the grandkids' names, okay? So Douglas has...
Okay. So my son Douglas has 4 grandchildren, 2...
No, children.
4 children, I'm sorry. Douglas has 4 children, 2 of whom are stepchildren, but we're really considered our kids. Elisa is the oldest. Danny is her brother. He's out of college as well. Then Philip is out of college but in graduate school and will be starting law school in the fall. And Sarah is a junior in college, so that's Douglas's family. Derek has 2 girls in two in junior high right now, Adelaide and Sadie, and Delilah is in high school, and next year Adelaide will be joining her in high school. And in Los Angeles, Dana and Jonathan have Emily, who's in high school, and Madeline, who will be starting high school in September.
Well, it's hard to believe Madeline's going to be in high school. That's crazy. Goodness. What do you want the grandkids' advice. You know, you are the matriarch. I'm sorry, but it's true. So sorry. But what do you want them to know about life and living and having a good life?
I think I've always told my grandkids that if I died tomorrow, I will have felt that I made the most of my time on earth and that I made good decisions and that I was lucky, that I, in some cases, was in the right place at the right time. And I always tell them that, you know, really it's the choices you make uh, and whether they're good choices for you or not, as to how your life is going to turn out. Because if you make that bad choice and you're stuck in it, it's difficult sometimes to overcome it. And I just feel that it's very important to make sure that what you do is really what you want to do, and that you put yourself in a place where you might be able to do it, rather than wanting something that's totally out of reach and out of touch.
Yeah, you certainly are living proof of that. Sandy,
I think one thing that I forgot to mention, which was kind of an interesting part of my life, is that my travels, I decided that we had gone to China in 1978, which was very unusual at the time. There weren't even travel books on China in 1978, but we had an opportunity to go. And after I came back from China, someone said, let's go to Nepal. So I said, great. And so we trekked 250 miles in Nepal, left our families at home, both of us. We went with another couple, and I went with this girlfriend of mine. And we were gone for 6 weeks, and we walked up to 18,250 feet at the base of Mount Everest. And that was a 6-week trip. And then the following year, I went to Mount Everest on the Tibetan side of China. And I took those kinds of trips and really let myself get out there to explore. And you know, maybe my kids didn't understand it at the time, but I think now they really think it was a good thing that I did that.
I think it's fascinating that, I mean, there have been so many times in your life, I think, where you just kind of intuitively got wise, or whatever it was, you just knew what you wanted to do, and damn the torpedoes.
There weren't many torpedoes in my life. I mean, as long as I was able to leave my family and prepare for them while I was gone, so that the responsibility didn't fall on another person. My husband certainly couldn't do it. He was at the hospital, and he had on-call duty, and he didn't have a choice. And we did not have live-in help. I had a student that lived with us for a while, a UCLA student, because we lived very close to UCLA. But that person had classes to go to and had responsibilities as well. So believe me, I made sure everything was taken care of before I left. And I had a calendar that said, you know, feed the dog, take out the garbage, take dinner out for tonight, write down if you played baseball, if your team won or didn't win, so I would know when I got home. Because we didn't call, we didn't have cell phones. You just left and hoped that you would come back.
Wow.
So that's what happened. That's what we did.
Describe your best and your worst traits.
My best traits and my worst traits. I would say my worst traits are that I'm very outspoken, I'm very honest, and sometimes it is not good. It might hurt people. It might put them in situations that they didn't see themselves in. And I think some of my better traits are that I have a good shit detector. I know when things aren't going well and I need to reverse course, particularly in politics. Politics is a very balanced kind of thing, and you really have to know when you're your opening is there to get in and get what you want, or how to work it in order to get what you want. And sometimes I'm, very outspoken, but I'm also very compassionate. And I'm very careful about what I say and how I say it. At the same time, I'm also very outspoken.
Years and years from now, well after you're 120, and your family finds this video sitting on a shelf, and they dust it off and they put it in, what do you want them to know about you?
That's an interesting question. I think I would like to know, like the future generations in my family, to know that that I really love family life. I was very lucky. I was healthy for a very long period of time in my life. I took advantage of everything that was around me, and I had good friends. I was interested. I was kept myself educated and kept abreast of the news of the day and the politics of the day. And believe me, we have been through a lot of different times. Things are certainly not the way they used to be. But I would hope that they would pursue an interesting life just as I have done. And know that their family is there for them and with them, and to always remember that they're loved, and that they can be educators to their family.
How long have you been married? And
I think I've been married about 55 years, I think.
I want you to say that, and I want you to tell me two things. What you think Jerry admires most about you, and what keeps it interesting, or the secret to, all of that.
We've been married about 55. Jerry and I have been married. Jerry and I have been married for about 55 years, and we have very different interests. And now that we've been retired for a while, both of us, I realize that we don't see the world in the same way, and we don't think the same way. When I'm optimistic, he can be pessimistic. And I tend to be optimistic most of the time. He tends to be pessimistic a lot of the time. And I really try, because I think it's very valuable to have particularly as you get older, to have a very good feeling about life and about the future. And you can't just always say, this is going to happen to me, and that bad thing is going to happen, or I think I'm getting sick, or I have friends that, spend days at the doctor every week. And in my opinion, I think there's other ways to go about your week without being consumed by doctors, unless, of course, you really are sick. And I think Jerry's, because he's bright and educated and interested, I think that really is great for a relationship, because I am too. And, we talk a lot about politics and about travels and about people, and we go to concerts and we go to theater, and we have a very interesting life. We've made some friends with some very interesting people, and, we enjoy doing that.
That's fantastic. I think it's wonderful. 55
Doesn't
years.
sound as wonderful as it is, but...
No, you know what? But 55 years is, okay, my computer just shut off. That wasn't fun. Give me a second to, and then when we're done shooting, I want